Tender, succulent venison, roasted for hours in red wine, braised pearl onions, sauteed mushrooms and carrot, served atop a bed of fluffy mashed potatoes, all coming together to become one of the most famous dishes of French cuisine. And of course, I'm talking about beef bourguignon, or, well, in this case, venison bourguignon, also known as beef or venison burgundy. This is a very rich and luscious stew made with big chunks of meat, vegetables, and honestly a whole lot of other components. Perhaps made most famous in the United States by Chef Julia Child, this is about the fanciest version of beef or venison stew that you could possibly make. So if you're worrying, oh look, another deer meat stew video, that is not what this is. We're talking about seriously fine dining and high cuisine stuff here. We're searing and braising and sauteing, and I'm possibly going to use just about every pot and pan in this entire kitchen. Now, in case it isn't obvious as we go, this is not really my recipe. In fact, I'm trying to stick to the original Julia Child's recipe pretty closely. There's only a couple very minor things that I'm going to adjust or do differently along the way. I'll say 95% of this is basically exactly how Julia Child would have made it, although she used beef. Today I'm using venison. So there's a lot to get through, so how about I shut up with this intro and we just get right into making this amazing venison bourguignon. First, let's take a look at the cuts of venison we're going to be using for this dish. What I've got here are 2 roasts from the hind quarter of a deer I butchered a couple months ago. This is the top round roast, and this is the sirloin tip roast, also known as the football roast. Both of these roasts together are weighing in at just about 4 pounds, though I still have some trimming to do, which will bring me down closer to around 3.5 pounds. For this batch of stew, we need between 3 and 4 pounds of raw meat. These roasts still have a fair amount of silver skin on them, so I'll just go through and carefully trim off about as much of it as I can. This skin would all cook completely down during our long cook, but it does not taste very good and would do nothing to help the flavor of this meal. There's also a tendon that goes down the middle of the sirloin tip roast, so I'll be sure to get that out of there as well. And as I go, I'll cut these roasts into some medium-sized chunks, about 2 inches wide and long. As opposed to, say, regular beef stew where you want smaller cubes of meat, this recipe calls for chunks to be on the larger side. Once I've got the venison all trimmed and cut up, I'll go ahead and season it pretty generously with kosher salt and black pepper, taking care to get all sides and surfaces. Next, I need to cut up some bacon. Use whatever you like, but I think thick cut works best. I'll slice 4 strips down the center and chop them into some little pieces. And while I'm at it, I'll get the rest of my prep work out of the way. First, I'll peel and slice a couple carrots. This recipe calls for 1 large carrot, but these are pretty small, so I'll use 2 of them. I'm going with pretty big slices because this is going to cook for a long time and I don't want them to completely disintegrate into my braising liquid. Next up, a yellow onion. I'll peel it and give it a pretty standard chop. Nothing too fancy here. I'll follow that up with some garlic. I need 4 to 5 cloves, minced. I could have also used the garlic press, but I figured I'd give myself 1 less utensil to wash today. Now for the mushrooms. These will come into play a little later, but I might as well get them ready now. I've got a pound of regular white mushrooms. I'll first snap the stems off each one because this recipe doesn't call for them, but those stems are perfectly good, so I'll save them for something else. After giving those mushrooms a good wash, I'll just cut them into quarters, or halves in the case of the few little tiny shrooms in there. Last up, some parsley. I don't need a ton of fresh parsley, but I'll still go ahead and chop up a bunch of it because I'll end up using it for various things throughout the week. Okay, now we're moving over to the stove because it's finally time to start cooking. I'll heat up about a tablespoon or so of olive oil in my big Enamel Dutch oven. And then I'm throwing in those bacon pieces. I'll let them cook away for a few minutes until they're just starting to approach getting crispy. Then I'm removing the bacon with a slotted spoon and setting aside until a little later. Because now we have to sear that venison. I'll set in a few of those chunks and let each side sear for a good couple minutes. I want some nice color and a light crust. And I don't want to overcrowd the pot because that will bring the temperature down too much. So I'll just do a few at a time, pull them back out, do a few more, and just repeat until all my venison is nicely seared and beautiful. Alright, venison is out, and now in goes the carrots and chopped onion. I'll saute it all for a few minutes until the onions begin to turn translucent. Then I'll throw in the minced garlic and let it cook for another minute. Now, one of the ingredients that makes a Bourguignon, or a Burgundy, is the use of red wine. Ordinarily, or traditionally, or ideally, you'd want to use Burgundy. But really, any dry red wine that you have on hand is going to work. I've had this bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon in the cupboard for quite some time. I don't really drink wine, I mainly just cook with it, and this is a good dry red wine that's going to work out fantastically for this recipe. Now to deglaze with some of that wine. Let's call it 1/4 cup. There are a lot of precious brown bits stuck to the bottom of this pot from the searing and sauteing steps, so I want to be sure to scrape all of them loose with a wooden spoon. Once that wine is mostly cooked off and or absorbed into the onions, I'm bringing back that bacon and giving it all a quick stir, before dropping all those seared venison chunks back into the pot as well. Atop which I will sprinkle 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and then gently stir and fold everything together to distribute that flour amongst the meat and everything else. Now for an almost ridiculous amount of that red wine. This recipe calls for basically an entire bottle of red wine, so in goes 3 cups of my Cabernet, followed by 2.5 cups of beef stock. Next, I'll stuff a couple bay leaves and a couple fresh thyme sprigs into a little spice bag and toss that in. And I have to mention that I somehow didn't have the camera recording when I added a couple other ingredients. I've stirred in a tablespoon of chopped parsley, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and 1 tablespoon of beef bouillon paste. Don't worry, everything will be included in the written out recipe in the video description below. Now the lid is going on the pot and this whole thing is going into a 350-degree oven for the next 4 hours. When I've got about 1 hour left, I'll start making the other components that still need to go into my Bourguignon. First up, the braised pearl onions. So I'll get 1.5 tablespoons of butter and 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil heated up in a skillet. And then in goes about 1 cup of peeled pearl onions. It's completely fine to use frozen pearl onions, by the way. Just make sure they are completely thawed and drained. I'll sprinkle over a pinch of kosher salt, and now I'm just letting these things saute for a few minutes. I'll roll and move them around occasionally until they're just starting to take on some color. Once I'm starting to see a little brown on those onions, I'll add a cup of beef stock, along with a pinch of black pepper and a sprig of fresh thyme. I'll continue cooking on medium-high heat until the stock just begins to simmer, at which time I'll lower the heat to very low and cover the pan. I'll let this all simmer on low heat for the next 45 minutes. At that time, the majority of the beef stock should have cooked off. If your pan lid doesn't have a little vent hole in it, leave the lid cracked just slightly so some steam can escape as it simmers. Now my pearl onions are ready to go, so I'll turn off the heat and set them aside until I need them. Because now we have to saute some mushrooms, so I'll melt 2 tablespoons of butter in a separate skillet, then throw in those quartered mushrooms from earlier, along with a big pinch of kosher salt. I'll gently stir and move those mushrooms around to ensure that they are all evenly coated in the melted butter. Now it's just a matter of letting them saute for a few minutes. I'm not trying to cook these things down into complete mush, I just want them to get a little softened and give them a little color. After 5 or 7 minutes, my mushrooms are ready. You can see that a lot of liquid has been released from those mushrooms so far, and that's completely okay. That's what's supposed to happen. Anyway, I'll scoop out the mushrooms with a slotted spoon and set them aside until I need them again in just a few minutes. Now it's been 4 hours and our Dutch oven is ready to come out of the oven. I can't even describe how good this all smells at this point, but we've still got a few more things to do. First, I'll carefully remove all of the solid contents out of that pot. The meat, as well as the carrot, is super tender at this point, and I don't want to risk having them completely fall apart by manhandling them. so gentle is key for this step. As for the liquid that remains in the pot, I'm going to run all of it through a mesh strainer. There's still a fair amount of bits of onion and other things swimming in that liquid, and I need to separate them out for the next step. So I'll just strain it all out, putting the liquid into this little saucepan. Now I'll put all the meat and carrots and other solids back into the still hot Dutch oven and cover it back up so it all stays warm while I deal with that liquid. So I'm back over at the stove, and all we really need to do to this insanely flavorful liquid is thicken it a bit. This is a stew after all, so we need a rich, luscious gravy to beautifully coat all those other ingredients. Now, Julia Child would have just simmered this liquid on low heat for a while until it's reduced and thickened to where she wanted it, but that takes quite a while, and I'd end up losing a bunch of my sauce to evaporation. So I use a small amount of cornstarch slurry. Just thoroughly mix 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch with 1.5 tablespoons of cold water and gradually stir it into the hot liquid. After letting it simmer on very low for just a few minutes with that cornstarch slurry, it's just thick enough to lightly coat the back of a spoon, which is exactly what I'm going for. So we're back over to the Dutch oven, and there's only 3 more things to do. First, add in those sauteed mushrooms. Second, add in the braised pearl onions. And third, pour that gravy over top and gently stir everything together. Now I'm finally ready to plate up some of this absolutely mouth-watering venison bourguignon. It's common to serve a bourguignon with mashed potatoes, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I like to spread out a generous bed of fluffy homemade mashed potatoes and press a slight concave into most of the surface, creating the perfect vessel for what comes next. I'm trying to curate the perfect plate here, so down goes 3 pieces of that beautifully tender venison, followed by some carrot and mushrooms, and I gotta make sure to get a few of those pearl onions in there. Spoon over just a little more of that sauce, because why not? And finally, garnish with a little chopped parsley. As good as that looks, it doesn't even compare to how good it smells, which means I will be wasting no further time before digging in and giving this venison bourguignon a taste. Wow. As if you had any doubt, that is absolutely delicious. There is so much flavor packed into a single forkful of food. If you've never made some kind of sauce or stock or braising liquid out of red wine and beef broth, there really just isn't quite anything else like it. In fact, in my list of top favorite meals of all time, at least a couple of them are made with some combination of red wine and beef stock. Now, as far as all of the separate steps that I did in this video, like I said, I'm trying to stick to Julia Child's method pretty closely. But does that mean you have to absolutely make those braised pearl onions and saute the mushrooms separately? Could you just saute those all together with the carrots and the chopped onion early on in the Dutch oven? Absolutely. And a lot of people do that as a means to cut down on how much time they have to spend, how many dishes they got to do, and so forth. But if you want to go all out, maybe make something that people are going to talk about, well, then I guess I recommend not cutting any corners and just doing the whole thing. Anyway, if you want to see the full recipe for all the components of this venison bourguignon, I'll put a link to it in the video description below. And be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future venison and wild game cooking videos. And consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/Great Lakes Country. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm John, and this is Great Lakes Country.